Nigeria is not a small country. It is not a poor country. It is not irrelevant. In fact, Nigeria is one of the most naturally gifted countries on earth. 200 million people, young, vibrant, full of energy and ambition, fertile farmland stretching across hundreds of thousands of square kilometers, oil reserves that put it on the map of global energy, a strategic position that connects Africa to Europe and Asia, and a culture that influences music, film, fashion, and business across continents. Yet when the world talks about Nigeria, the conversation is almost always the same: corruption, poverty, broken infrastructure, political instability, crime, unemployment. How can a country with so much still struggle so much? This is not just a Nigerian question, it is a global question. Why do some nations rise while others stall? Why do countries with fewer resources outperform those with abundance? Why does potential so often remain just potential? Take Singapore. In 1965, expelled from Malaysia, almost no resources, no oil, no farmland, no strategic depth. Many predicted it would fail. Today, its economy is stronger than Nigeria's. Germany has no major natural resources, yet dominates Europe's economy. Japan sits on earthquake zones, imports most of its energy, and became a global industrial giant. Meanwhile, Nigeria, with oil, land, people, and position, continues to struggle. This is not coincidence. It is not destiny. It is not because Nigerians are lazy or incapable. The truth is uncomfortable but clear. Countries fail because their systems fail, and they succeed because their systems work. Nigeria's story begins with promise. Before independence, the country had structure: cocoa and groundnuts in the west, palm oil in the east, coal in Enugu, railways connecting major cities. Markets thrived, local governance existed, education grew. Lagos and Ibadan were bustling hubs. Regional economies were productive. Nigeria had potential, and everyone knew it. Then oil changed everything. When black gold was discovered in the Niger Delta, it seemed like a gift from heaven. Suddenly, money flowed in without the discipline of production. Politicians and military rulers became fixated on controlling oil revenues. Institutions weakened. A rent-based economy replaced a productive one. Schools and infrastructure lagged. Talented people, instead of building the country, started looking for opportunities elsewhere. Doctors, engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs left, seeking stability abroad. The so-called brain drain quietly siphoned away the nation's most valuable resource: human capital. Leadership cycles in Nigeria did not help. Good leaders were often replaced, policies reversed, and long-term planning became almost impossible. Military interventions disrupted governance. Corruption became systemic, not just episodic. Every attempt to build consistent institutions was undermined by short-term thinking and self-interest. Compare this to countries like Malaysia. With fewer natural resources than Nigeria, Malaysia focused on education, human capital, and industrialization. Its policies were consistent. Singapore prioritized meritocracy. Singapore invested in people. Singapore built systems to last. Meanwhile, Nigeria continued to rely on oil revenues without structural reform. Education in Nigeria has struggled. Schools often lack resources. Teachers are underpaid. Students who have the ability to innovate often face obstacles that force them to leave. The young population, instead of being a competitive advantage, becomes frustrated with limited opportunities. Compare this to Singapore, where education reform created a skilled workforce that transformed a tiny, resource-poor nation into a global hub. Yet it is not all bleak. Nigeria's people remain resilient. Every day, millions wake early, innovate, hustle, survive. Entrepreneurs create value despite unstable power supply, poor roads, and red tape. Young Nigerians build startups that could compete globally. The energy is there. The talent is there. The ambition is there. But without strong systems, these individual efforts often fail to scale nationally. The contrast becomes striking when looking at global comparisons. Countries like UAE leverage strategic planning, foreign investment, and strong institutions to transform small populations into world-class economies. Indonesia, despite similar challenges, stabilized its institutions, diversified its economy, and grew steadily. Nigeria, with even more natural advantages, struggles to match these outcomes. Oil, talent, and location alone are not enough. Without discipline, accountability, and long-term planning, abundance becomes a curse rather than a blessing. Resource-rich countries often fall into what economists call the resource curse, where wealth leads to dependence, corruption, and institutional weakness. Nigeria's story exemplifies this. Infrastructure remains a problem. Roads, bridges, and ports often fail to meet global standards. Energy supply is unreliable. Healthcare struggles to cover a growing population. While pockets of excellence exist, these systems are fragmented and inconsistent. Meanwhile, nations like Singapore or Germany invested consistently over decades, producing exponential results. Yet hope exists. Nigeria is not doomed. Demographics are a hidden advantage. Technology adoption is accelerating. Young, creative populations are driving innovation. With policy consistency, investment in education, and a focus on systemic reform, Nigeria could still realize the potential that is often spoken of, but rarely seen. The story of Nigeria teaches a universal lesson. Resources alone do not make nations rich. People alone do not make nations strong. Systems do. Leadership matters, but it must be paired with accountable institutions. Talent matters, but only if it is nurtured and retained. Opportunity matters, but only if it is structured. As we look at the bustling cities of Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt, the crowded markets, the energy of youth, and the untapped potential in rural areas, one question remains. Can Nigeria finally build the systems it needs to match its resources? Can it stop losing its best minds and start turning potential into prosperity? Can it, like Singapore or Malaysia before it, leap from abundance to achievement? This is not just Nigeria's story. It is the story of all nations that struggle to turn resources, talent, and ambition into lasting wealth. It is a lesson in systems over luck, planning over randomness, and discipline over chaos. Nigeria's story is still being written. Every decision, every policy, every reform, every young entrepreneur contributes to the next chapter. And while the challenges are enormous, the possibilities are equally vast. For viewers, the question is not just why Nigeria struggles. The question is, how do nations win? And what can we learn from Nigeria's challenges to apply anywhere in the world? Because ultimately, countries that fail slowly do so quietly while everyone argues. Countries that succeed do so loudly because they built the systems to do so. Kindly share, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories like this. Stay safe.